Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today, and today the Houston Rockets beat the Oklahoma City Thunder 125-111. Great win for the Rockets. I gotta say, I'm surprised. Great performance by this Rockets team tonight. Look, I thought it was going to be hard for this Rockets team to beat the Thunder. I know the Rockets are capable of beating the Thunder. They've done it in the past. They did it earlier this year. They, did it last year in OKC. What an amazing win last year the Rockets had in OKC late in the season. Jalen Green put on a show last year in OKC. It was an overtime thriller. Jabari Smith Jr. had a really good game. And I don't know if that was before or after the Alperen Şengün injury that the Rockets had. It might have been before, but I'm not sure. But the Rockets have had some great wins with this in the last couple of years against this Oklahoma City Thunder team when the Thunder have been a dominant team. Multiple, one this year before this game, a couple last year, but in all those games, all those wins, something the Rockets did have was Dillon Brooks, and I thought it was the Rockets were going to really hurt, not having Dillon Brooks in the lineup tonight. Not only does he bring you look, I said this before, you need great three-point shooting to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they did do a solid job from three tonight, 13 for 35. Chet knocked down 6. They shot 37% from three. That's not amazing, but it's definitely solid. And so I thought you really need Dillon Brooks three-point shooting. You really need Dillon Brooks defense when you're going up against a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But I thought it was really impressive for the Rockets to go out there tonight and get a dub against this Thunder team without Dillon Brooks, who has not missed much games this year. I think before tonight has only missed a couple games, and he's been there with this team most of this season. So I'm not saying when I said I didn't think this Rockets team could win tonight, it's not because I don't think they're capable of beating this Thunder team. I just think that they were going to really miss Dillon Brooks tonight. And you know what? They might have missed Dillon Brooks tonight, but still able to get a win even though they missed him. So really proud of the way they played tonight, 125-111. I want to start off with something. Speaking of Dillon Brooks, Dillon Brooks tonight, that meant, you had someone else coming in the starting lineup, and you would have thought it would have been Jabari Smith Jr., especially with the game he just had recently. Jabari had an amazing game last time against Utah. Or it'd be Tari Eason joining the starting lineup. We've seen, if someone's out, if, Fred VanVleet or someone else is injured, Jabari or Tari will jump in the starting lineup with Amen, Alp, and Jalen, whoever else is the other starter. If Fred's injured, he won't be in there, but, probably Dillon Brooks. We've seen games where Fred is missing. This is the lineup of, Amen, Jalen, and Dylan and Şengün, and then one of Jabari or Tari will join them. But Ime Udoka rolled with something tonight for the first time we've seen, and the first time we've seen this with the Rockets. And that's Steven Adams and Alperen Şengün in the same lineup. We've seen this double big lineup many times recently, and what set it off was the Dallas Mavericks. Is what really set that double big lineup off. Was AD's first game as a Dallas Maverick. They had Anthony Davis and Daniel Gafford in at the 4 and 5, and they were dominating the Rockets, and that's when Ime Udoka decided you were going to see the Steven Adams, Alperen Şengün double big lineup. And after that, because it really did work for that Rockets team in Dallas, after that you really started to see this Rockets team and Ime Udoka use the double big lineup of Alperen Şengün and Steven Adams more. But the one thing we haven't seen is it in a starting lineup. And this is the team you 100% want, a double big lineup in the starting lineup with when you're facing the Oklahoma City Thunder, with Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein. There are not many teams that start two bigs in their lineup, true bigs. Like, I look at Dallas, and you can look at Dallas and say, yeah, they're one of those teams, Anthony Davis and Daniel Gafford at the 4 and the 5, and this Oklahoma City Thunder team with Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren. So, yeah, there are a couple, and there are a couple other teams that have two true bigs at the 5 and the 4. But I think OKC and Dallas are one or two of the two teams that, really, you fear the double big lineup that they have. I don't know how much you can fear AD and Gafford because you really haven't seen much of them together. But I think it's really impressive how OKC has Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren, and it's that double big lineup. And I don't know if I'd say it's as impressive as Alperen Şengün and Steven Adams. I think the rebounding wise, I think Alperen Şengün and Steven Adams are a really good group together. I mean, they had tonight. Şengün didn't have many rebounds tonight at all because he was playing next to Steven Adams, but they combined it for 14 rebounds tonight. Adams took 12 rebounds tonight. Amin Thompson had 8. So 20 rebounds for Thompson and Adams. There wasn't a lot of rebounds for Alp tonight. But 14 rebounds for them tonight. They're both of them, Adams and Şengün, really good rebounding wise and really good defensively. I think that's where they beat Chet. I don't know. Chet's a really good defender. I think both Hardenstein and Chet are really good defensively, but Alp and Steven Adams are really good defensively as well. I think really the only part where Chet and Hardenstein really beat Şengün and Adams is the three-point shooting ability. Chet shot 6 for 8 from 3 tonight. Is a great three-point shooter. Hardenstein doesn't shoot often from deep, but he can definitely knock them down. Meanwhile, you got Şengün who he can knock down some threes, but he doesn't shoot the ball often from 3, and it's not something I would say you would trust. And Adams never been a three-point shooter. So I think really the only thing that this double big lineup of Chet and Hardenstein kill this double big lineup of Şengün and Adams is in three-point shooting. But I think the Rockets look really well when you have Adams and Şengün in the starting lineup against Chet and Hardenstein when you got those two guys for rebounding and defensively, and then not even forgetting that you have Amin Thompson in the same lineup with them. And I thought the Rockets got up to a great tempo to start this game around the first 5-6 minutes when you saw Alp and Adams on the floor together, because the Rockets did get off to a great start in this game, and that was great. And honestly, when I'm seeing the success of Steven Adams and Alperen Şengün on the floor tonight, you're seeing Steven Adams go out there, only played 23 minutes and still has 12 rebounds and 8 points and 2 steals and a block. And with Alperen Şengün, you're seeing him be more dominant, scoring 31 points, 4 assists, and 3 steals because, he might be going up against, the weaker defender potentially, since, you might have Isaiah Hardenstein on Steven Adams more, or Chet Holmgren on Steven Adams more. He might have a more preferable matchup when he's on the floor with Steven Adams. And this is something that was really going through my thought process, my head process when I'm watching the success of Alperen Şengün and Steven Adams in the same starting lineup. The one thing I can't stop thinking about when I'm watching that is, okay, if you're in a playoff series against this Oklahoma City Thunder team, if you match up against this Oklahoma City Thunder playoff team and you saw the success that the double big lineup had in the starting lineup in that one game against OKC, do you look at it and say maybe we should explore using that as a starting lineup in the playoffs? And it begins a weird thing for this Rockets team, because then you got to figure out who would go to the bench if you did that. But I think this Rockets team matches really well with Steven Adams and Alperen Şengün going up against Nikola Jokic. Going up against Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hardenstein in the starting lineup, and that could be a real threat to this Oklahoma City Thunder team if they were to do that in a starting lineup. And but then that begins the topic of who goes to the bench, because if you do that, Jalen would still be a starter next to Şengün and Adams. You would think Dylan Brooks still needs to be a starter with his defensive ability and his three-point shooting ability. Then the discussion would be who stays in the starting lineup and who goes to the bench out of Amin Thompson and Fred VanVleet. And I'm just saying this in a specific case where the Rockets were to go up against the Oklahoma City Thunder in the playoffs, not any other series, not just like if you were to face the Golden State Warriors in the playoffs. I think the Warriors are a great team. It's no shot on them, but since they're not great with size, you don't have to roll out with the double big in a starting lineup. Or the Los Angeles Lakers. Lakers, great team, but they got Jackson Hayes at the center position. They're not great with size either. You wouldn't have to be in the position where you do the double big lineup there either. But if you're going up against a team like Oklahoma City, who has Hardenstein and Chet in the starting lineup, and this is a possibility, it's unlikely Dallas would have to get to the 8th seed and win the play-in game for this to happen. If you were to face a Dallas Mavericks team with a healthy AD in the postseason, you could consider going to that double big lineup where that's where Dallas is where this all started, where you need the double big lineup. That's where that really is all where this started, because AD and Gafford were dominating the Rockets, and Ime Udoka in the second half of that Dallas game in February decided to go to the double big lineup. So I think there's really only two teams in a potential playoff matchup, Dallas and OKC, that you would look to go to that double big lineup in a starting lineup. But like I said, I think it's something this Rockets team should consider if they go up against OKC in the playoffs, and it's very possible. You're talking about the 1 and 2 seed here. I mean, so if the Rockets get to the Western Conference Finals, they're most likely going to face the Thunder. But let's get to the stats of this game. Alperen Şengün was amazing tonight, but I do want to go over Jalen Green first. It's well-deserved to talk about Jalen Green first. 34 points, 5 assists, 2 steals, 1 block tonight, 4 rebounds. Not amazing from 3 for 10, but he did hit some key threes for this Rockets team tonight. And then 11 for 24 from the floor. Now, the threes were not as efficient for Jalen Green in this game tonight, but something that was very efficient for Jalen, it felt like anytime he was shooting this shot, it was going in. It was his mid-range shots. He made, and maybe more in the second half than the first half, he was just killing it with his mid-range shots in this game. Had a nasty, there was some nasty alley-oop play that him and, it was either Tari Eason or Amen Thompson connected with, backwards alley. Jalen was just in a different zone in this game today. And this was the rare 30-point game for Alperen Şengün and Jalen Green. We've seen many 30-point games for Jalen Green this season. We've seen a good amount of 30-point games for Alperen Şengün, but it doesn't happen often that both of them go for 30 in the same game. And we saw that tonight. And honestly, Steven Adams being in the lineup might cause that. Just to be honest, I think Steven Adams being in the lineup might cause the Alperen Şengün being more of a scorer. I don't think it doesn't really do anything for Jalen Green, because Jalen Green has been able to put up these high numbers, but I think Alperen Şengün becomes a better scorer and is more comfortable as a scorer when Steven Adams is in the starting lineup with him or on the floor with him. But Fred VanVleet was great tonight. 13 points, 6 assists, 5 for 9, 3 for 7 from 3. Good efficient game. We saw earlier this year he had an amazing game against this Thunder team in a Houston win at home. Second one, he had a good game, but not as good as he was last time against this team when the Rockets played them in Houston. But still a good game for Fred. Like I talked about, Steven Adams was great. 8 and 12, 2 steals, 1 block. Amen Thompson had a fantastic game tonight. 16 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 blocks, 1 steal. Off the bench, I want to get to Jae'Sean Tate right away. Jae'Sean Tate stepped up tonight. Jabari Smith Jr. was fantastic tonight. 17 rebounds, 9 points, 3 for 8 from the floor, 1 for 2 from 3. It was stat wise was the most impressive performance off the bench, but I'm going to give the most impressive performance off the bench to Jae'Sean Tate. Known as not a good 3-point shooter, and to go out there tonight and shoot 3 for 4 from 3 and hit some clutch threes for the Rockets with 9 points, and after literally not being in the rotation for a while for this Rockets team, he hadn't seen minutes in a while for this Rockets team, and to go out there tonight and give this Rockets some good minutes against a great team when you need him the most without Dillon Brooks. Great night for Jae'Sean Tate. Now, Jabari Smith Jr. was obviously better in this game tonight. I just think it was great to see Jae'Sean Tate step up for this Rockets team. But Jabari was fantastic. 17 rebounds. That's another really high rebound game for Jabari Smith Jr. He had 17 tonight. He had, it was a blowout, but still had like 14, 15 rebounds the other night. And his minutes were down, so you see a little bit more minutes for him tonight, and that number goes up to 17. Would have been nice to see another double-double for Jabari, because in his last game he had a double-double. He almost had a double-double at halftime last game. But another monster night for him. Tari Eason, not so great tonight. 5 points, 4 rebounds, 2 for 10. It was an off night for him, but that's okay because other guys stepped up. Cam Whitmore, Aaron Holiday, Nate Williams, Reed Sheppard all checked in late in the game. We didn't see the amazing late fourth quarter for Reed Sheppard and Cam Whitmore that we saw the other night, but that was because they both played most of the fourth quarter, and the last time they played and killed in the fourth quarter, and tonight they only played 1 minute. That group that played the guys I said came in the last 4 minutes of the game. Shepard, Williams, Holiday, Whitmore, really none of them did anything. Reed Shepard got a rebound defensively. None of the guys took any shots. No, that was really it. No turnovers. It was nothing. It was just a rebound for Reed Shepard, and that was it. No shots. And that's it. Jeff Green and Jock Landale, DNPs. Dylan Brooks obviously didn't play tonight. How about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander tonight? Holding Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to 22 points, 8 assists. That's a high number, but it's not very high when you look at his point total. 10 for 22 from the floor, 1 for 6 from 3. And how about this? Something I'm just going to assume that is a season low of 2 free throw attempts. You love to see it. And again, I'm not trying to hype up this. I've hyped up this big man lineup very much the entire game. But I think the big man lineup with Steven Adams and Alperen Sengun might play an effect of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's limited free throws tonight. And so, I'm really impressed with the way the Rockets guarded him. Now, the only bad thing about when you're facing Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and he's not as effective, not a lot of points, not a lot of free throw attempts, J-Dub is killing you. 33 points, 2 for 3 from 3, 13 for 21. Honestly, J-Dub is great. No disrespect to him. Amazing player. But honestly, I think you'd rather have J-Dub go out there and score 33 points than Shai go out there and do what he does on a nightly basis and have him go to the free throw line like crazy. You don't want to see Jalen Williams play the way he did tonight, because when he does, he is a monster. But you'd rather see Jalen Williams, J-Dub, play the way he played tonight than have Shai just go off on you. And so I think the Rockets have to be very proud of the way they dealt with Shai defensively tonight. And another thing is, you have Chet going off 6 for 8 for 3, 20 points. So yes, it does hurt you because you have guys like Chet and J-Dub having a night like they did tonight, combining for 53 points. But I think obviously their points are going to go up if you're stopping Shai and you're limiting him to 22 and 2 free throws. So really impressed with that. Let me know your thoughts on the Rockets 125-111 win in the comment section, and peace out. Go Rockets.